Oh, we're live.
We're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Whatever Show on a Sunday. I am here with my dear friend and collaborator, Kiki Walter from the Memoirist, as well as three very talented writers we're going to be introducing during this show. Kiki, how are you?
Oh, sorry. Wait, hold on. I'm having a technical issue.
That's completely fine.
I
Y'all,
am doing I'm
we have
doing
had a lot
great.
of technical issues. Great. I am so happy to hear that. We are here today on a Sunday, highly unusual for us because something very exciting has happened. Can you tell everyone about this?
Yes, this is the Memoirist Quarterly. It is the literary journal of the Memoirist family. It is a quarterly journal that comes out, although we had a little bit of a gap from between the first issue and the second
Yeah.
issue, but we are on track now. And it features many talented writers and artists, and many from Substack that everyone knows. And this is the March issue.
I love it.
I'm
I
so
love it.
excited.
Um, I am so thrilled to see the Memoirist Quarterly starting up again, and I am so thrilled to be featured in here. It is such an honor. I posted yesterday with my "Look, Ma, I'm in." I also want to pause for a moment just to make sure we're actually live, um, because I am not yet seeing. Oh, there it is. There's always a lag. Hang on one second. There we are. I'm going to say a quick hello in the chat. We have how many? 31 people on the live so far, you guys. So we are here and we are connected. Whew. StreamYard and Substack don't always play well together. So it was a little bit harrowing backstage, but we are here. We are connected. Lynette is saying 2 issues total ever. So it's a new journal.
It is a
Um,
new journal. Yes.
it is. We're gonna each talk about our stories because all 5 of us are featured. Um, but before we jump in, Kiki, I want to hear a little bit of the history, both of the Memoirist as a publication
Mhm.
online and your decision to go old school and make a beautiful literary journal.
Okay. Well, the Memoirist started on Medium back in 2021.
Sorry.
And it started because I joined Medium like on Halloween of 2021, and was looking for a place I could publish my memoirs and personal essays. And at that time, I couldn't find any place that I felt was
Right.
suited. So I just started one. Like within the first week I was on Medium, I decided to start the Memoirist.
Wow, that
And
quickly, you were just
yeah,
like, I'm doing it.
yeah, that's kind of how I'm very impulsive. So that's how I do things, but it really caught on. And then I think maybe a year ago, I started the Substack site and brought the
Yes.
memoirs to Substack. And it runs a little differently on Substack than it does on Medium. Um, and when I started the literary journal, that was a couple of years ago. And I've always
Yes.
loved literary journals. And I just
Yeah.
thought that memoirs were, I mean, it was just like the perfect venue to kind of showcase talented writers. And I started a website. I had people submit through the website to me for that first journal. We had some great artwork, great stories in there. And the reason why there was a gap in time was it was a really big project to do on my own. And even though I had the help of Christopher Robin, I had the help of, friends as well. But I was also going through a very difficult time in my life at that point. So
Yeah.
it was a little, it was a big project. And so I took a little time
Yes.
just to kind of regroup. And now I am ready to move forward with the quarterly issues, and I'm already, knee deep in trying to prepare for June's issue.
Oh my
And
gosh, I love
yeah,
it.
and that's kind of like the long and the short of it.
Well, let me ask a really quick question here, and then we'll get into the stories. If there are writers out there who would like to either submit a story to the Memoirist publication on Substack or would like to be considered for the literary
Mhm.
journal, can you explain what the process is for each of those?
Sure. Well, there are a couple ways. I do curate through our Substack site, The
Okay.
Memoirist. So if you're a writer there, you're already in the running. And you can also DM me. Basically, I'm open to submissions through the end of March, but I'm pretty laid back. So if you're interested, just DM me, ask me about it, and I'm happy to consider a piece, whether you've published it in the Memoirist or not. You can
Oh,
also
okay.
go to our website, thememoiristquarterly.com, and submit through there.
Perfect. So the process, if they want to do this on Substack, is to just reach out to you, and
Just reach
then
out to me.
okay, and then they could get added as writers. I know that was the process on Medium as well.
Yeah,
And then if they want to be considered for print, do they write you through the Memoirist Quarterly website?
they can do that, or they can just DM me. That's
Okay.
probably the easiest way here on Substack. Just shoot me a message, and I'm happy to respond and consider your piece.
Yes. Fabulous. I'm going to put in a link right now. This is to Amazon. Where can someone buy this other than Amazon? Because that's where I got my copy.
Just on Amazon right now. I would love to branch out in the future, but
Yeah.
right now it's only available on Amazon.
And you all, I do want to take a moment and show it's, I'm just going to do a quick flip through here, but like, it's a really beautiful journal. There's all kinds of photography, and there are super talented artists whose work is also featured in here.
Mhm.
So it's a beautiful book. You did a great
Thank
job.
you. Thank you.
Um,
And it does come in soft cover and hardcover. The hardcover is more like a
yes,
coffee table book,
yes.
kind of, and it's also very, very nice. It showcases, like, the cover is by Christopher Robin. This is the
Oh,
hardcover. I don't really see it very well, but
I know you have
um,
your background is really
yeah.
nice.
I know. I wish my house really looked like this.
I wish my house were that clean
I
ever.
know. Me too.
Oh my God. But then who would have time to write if we were also cleaning?
That's right.
Um, let's jump in. As I'm thinking about this, do we want to talk about our stories now, or do we want to talk about our personal stories toward the end and bring on one of our writers to
Why don't we
chat?
talk about our stories at the end?
That's
Because
what I was
I'd
thinking.
also love at the end to kind of give a shout out to all the other writers who are in the book. And I have them
Absolutely.
listed out. So, but yeah, why don't we bring on? I think we have Gentry coming on first, right?
Yeah. Y'all, Gentry, unmute yourself. I feel a little badly that we have Christina and Aaron and Gentry just kind of sitting here, but um, regulars of the Daily Whatever show will know that we have trouble sometimes with sound coming in and out as people come and go, and we didn't want everyone's sound bugging out, so we decided we would all be here Brady Bunch style. And
Story
of a
of a
lovely
lovely
writer.
lady. Oh,
Lovely writer who was, I don't know, I'm just making things up. Gentry, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Dina. And
Great.
Kiki.
Thank
Hello.
you. So happy that you were able to join us.
Happy to be here.
Truly, you are someone, I have been reading your work since the Medium days. I think I
Mhm.
got a story of yours boosted for the Memoirist or Age of Empathy back in the day when more stories were getting boosted and it was a more hospitable place on Medium. But I've been a fan of your work for a long time, Gentry. It's so good to finally meet you. I am posting the link in the chat to the story we'll be talking about. I believe that's the right link. Let me just check it. I don't know if it is. My thing is bugging out, so I don't know if it is, but I do have the link here to your Substack personally. So let's just point people there. That one I can see, and the URL is the correct one. I have questions. I read your story, The Blue-Eyed Woman from Hanoi, and it's a memoir about being in Vietnam in 2001. Do you want to
Mhm.
give like a 30 to 60-second summary of your story before we jump in with some questions?
Sure. So in the summer of 2001, I flew to Vietnam to spend about a month there. As somebody that had grown up with a father who was in the Vietnam War, and my entire life had been grandly and darkly impacted by the war because of him being there. And at the time I was like 28 years old. So my idea was I'm going to fly to Vietnam and I'm going to surf there, and somehow that's going to cleanse my family of this like traumatic stuff that we
Okay.
endured as a family, and that's not how things turned out.
It is not, but I feel like most memoir has, like, as the kids would say, a vibe. And this one to me had a very hopeful vibe to it. So even though it may not have worked out the way you intended, I still feel like it had a redemption feel to it. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I mean that's a nice. I love the word redemption because I think
Me
that
too.
often that's kind of the one of the foundations for a lot of memoir, right? I mean, we're writing stuff so that we can be redeemed for whatever mistakes we may have made, or maybe the mistakes of others, or Um, so redemption, when you say that, it's like I was trying to uh, not redeem myself, but like my whole family, and it turned out that I felt like a sense of redemption for like my entire person, which was weird.
Good.
Um,
Kiki, do you want to jump in with a question? I know I tend to talk a lot and I want to make sure you have time to ask as well.
Sure. Well, I'm just looking at my notes here. Um, and I kind of know a little bit about this, but you write a lot of stories about travel and living in other countries and all of these experiences that you've had. It, um, I don't know where I want to go with this, but can you tell us a little bit about that?
well, travel is really, really important to me. So, and it's because travel is like this microcosm of things, right? But also, I've lived in a lot of different places, so I feel like that contributes really organically to writing stories because you just store, memoir is no different from fiction, and then your main character is yourself, but you're surrounded by all these other characters in a setting, and there's a story that occurs, right? So I'm just using the setting that I'm in, which might be Vietnam or might be the Czech Republic or might be wherever else I've lived, and then the characters that are there become part of that story that's told. So, like all of us, we're all memoirists, and I'm sure I'm not going to speak for y'all, but when I write a story, a memoir story, I'm always thinking there's 25 other stories just within this paragraph that I could have expanded,
Yes.
you know? So, and in the editing process, because I write a lot and then I edit it down, then it becomes this much more condensed version of one or maybe a few events, right? And I think that's what the story in Vietnam is about. It really becomes about me and Min, the woman that became my friend there.
Yeah. Um, I have a question about the title of your story. It's called The Blue-Eyed Woman from Hanoi. And
Mhm.
obviously, that is eye-catching when you're talking about someone Vietnamese. It's very rare to see someone who's blue-eyed, but you only in passing in the story mention her blue eyes once,
Mm.
and yet you elevated that detail to the title. I have thoughts on why and what it means, but I'd love to hear yours. Why was that an important enough detail to bring it to the title of the memoir?
Well, I feel like I want to hear yours first because I know why.
Right. Um, I think that Min represents. I'm going to use the word redemption again. Your description of Vietnam is everything is very different than you were expecting it to be, and it was a lot of it was hard. You described that the 30-hour ride on the bench, the wooden bench, and how your what did you say? Your kidney felt like it was replaced by a wooden stake. You're filthy. You're uncomfortable. You're hot, um, and so you were. Everything is at odds with you in very challenging ways. Blue eyes on an Asian person is also very at odds. but in this case, there was this one unique person who made you feel the connection that you were hoping to find, a sense of friendship and peace with this country that you had a challenging past with. So you're bringing out her one iconoclastic physical feature as a metaphor for what a unique human experience you had with her. How's that?
I'll take it.
Is that why you asked? That was my read on it, but is that an accurate read? And did she really have blue eyes?
I think that's definitely good. I like it.
Thank you.
I find that as a writer, I'm creating the Charlie Brown Christmas tree. So
Yeah.
I've just chosen the tree, and the readers get to put all the ornamentation onto the tree and make it into the cool thing that it becomes, you know? So your interpretation is great. I will add to that one of the things that so I am obviously a foreigner in a foreign land in Hanoi, because I was from San Francisco. You know, I'm this American boy, and I'm from San Francisco, and but Min was of mixed ancestry, or you know, she's half Chinese and half Vietnamese, and that's really, I think, one of the things that made me connect with her, is that she felt like an outsider even in her own country, and her blue eyes are part of that. That's part of her. And she doesn't really necessarily like to be an outsider. You know? She'd rather be in America. She'd rather be in this land of freedom, which was also really, that was so bizarre for me to hear. And that was one of the things about Vietnam at that. And it was a really strange time, because it was for those who are not as ancient as me. The first few months of George W. Bush's presidency, and he had like really gotten rid of a lot of international protocols that were there, and people did not like America at that time. Sounds a little bit like, I don't know, some other times that we're living in right now.
Yeah, it doesn't sound familiar at all. Everyone loves us worldwide. What are you talking about?
So I had been like spit on and things by Europeans and Australians in train stations and stuff. And the people that really embraced me as an American were Vietnamese people, not other Caucasians. They were like, you're American, we're going to stay away from you. And the Vietnamese people were like, you represent freedom. And I was like, I represent war, right? In my head. I have lived with this man who has been a warlike being in my life for all of my life. And now I'm here, and you don't seem to care. And they really didn't. They have a very Buddhist way of being, because they're a Buddhist Cao Dao and Catholic country. And so that was so weird to me, you know, like, oh, you know, right? This Dutch guy or this British guy or this Australian woman, they're avoiding me. But I would go to villages in the Mekong Delta and stuff later, and like people would come out of the villages to meet me because I was American. And I was like, wow, I just came here to surf, dude. You know, like that's not what happened.
Sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I mean, he spoke about his father being in the Vietnamese War. How did that affect you? I mean, this became like a calling almost for you to go on this trip. So what was the impact of your father being a veteran of this war?
It impacted my life from the day I was born. You know, I mean, I have countless stories about him and his PTSD, and you know, my father's still alive, so you know, I'm going to honor that. But He knows. It grandly affected him, which then spilled over to everyone around him. So I basically felt as though I had grown up in a war. And what was bizarre was to go to the country where the war was and see that those people didn't, they cared, but they cared in a completely different way. You know, the Americans were still, you know, one of the things that I had always wanted to do when I wrote that story, and I had written a lot of, I have an album and stuff called No War, where I kind of address this. It was really important to me to try to find out why my father had gone through this and all these other people, and then the children of veterans, how were they impacted? Because there are so many people that don't really get to discuss how it impacted them as children of veterans. And now we have many veterans, many wars, you know. But then I got to Vietnam, and when I was writing the story, it made me, and I went back through journals and stuff, and I thought, these are people that really still have landmines in the jungle. They can't go out there, right? They can't go into their own country because they could lose a limb by just walking through the jungle. And they still think that I'm freedom and I represent freedom. Whereas like my dad, man, he still to this day hasn't forgiven himself.
Right? That was the most stunning part of the story, was a comment that for Min, I think, was just a toss-off comment, like, oh, the war, that was a long time ago. We don't think about that. And here you are. First of all, it hadn't been that long, right? Because this was the 90s that you were there, right? When is the story?
2001.
Early 2000s? Yeah.
It's been 16 years. Yeah.
Right. And then here she is in the country where it happened, being like, oh, it's fine. Did you feel this sense of like, oh my God, this has been with me every day of my entire life, and you're actually here, but you think it's a long time ago? Yeah. Did it feel like absolution, or were you incredulous at the time? Or did you not know until you looked back with the wisdom of age as you wrote the memoir?
That is a really great question, because it took me months and years after I got back to deal with just my experiences in Vietnam.
Right.
So by the time I got around to writing the story, I had thought through a lot of that. So I think the story helped me get some, you know, certainly not closure, but I don't know if there's ever a moment where war dissipates for anyone. And I wasn't there. I just happened to be the child that was subjected to how it impacted my father. But the Vietnamese people seem to be so much cooler about the whole thing. It's so much more zen, truly. And I think I don't know. The darkness that I experienced there is not what's in that story. And that's what was important to me, is to write the story with the redemptive element. You know,
I love it. Kiki, no, aside to Kiki, when we talked about the show, we were like, an hour will be plenty. I think this one it's going to be hard to dive into each of these stories properly in an hour. I feel like we could talk about this for the rest of the show, Gentry, and still keep finding more things to unearth. But in the interest of time, we should probably move to our next author. Thank you for writing this wonderful story. I want to go grab the link one more time over here for the folks following along who may have just joined, because I see there are a lot more folks here now. There is a link to Gentry's wonderful story, The Blue-Eyed Woman from Hanoi. You can also, here, I'll put his direct link in so that you can subscribe to him on Substack. And Lynette is saying, Dana does just one of her stories in an hour, and it's true on my own lives on I Write Out Loud. I will take one story and talk for an hour by myself about it. I have a lot to say. Gentry, thank you so much. And you're going to hang out here, I know, but we are going to pass the metaphorical microphone on to our next author, Christina Jumper.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm
First
really
question.
nervous.
Oh my gosh, it's just us. Don't be nervous.
It's crazy because I have a podcast, but I'm not used to my face being shown, and so that's what's making me nervous.
I already didn't know that. What is the name of your podcast? Give a shout out where people can find it.
It's called Pickles and Vodka. It's a mental health
Oh,
podcast, and
I did actually know
It's
that.
excellent.
Yeah,
I
Katie,
love.
you haven't been a guest yet.
I haven't.
That needs to be remedied, but let's not take over this conversation.
Oh my gosh, Pickles and Vodka is a great name.
Mhm.
I I love that you have that. And I have only read this one essay by you so far, but I'm already like, I have some ideas about what this may be about. I'm going to link your story. Would you like to be called Chris or Christina as we're speaking
We're
today?
friends now. You can call me Chris.
All right. Excellent. That makes me happy. Okay, so here's a link to Chris's essay. And as you can probably tell from the URL title, trigger warning on this one. This is the one essay today that if topics around consent and sexual assault or many other topics, eating disorders, alcohol and drug abuse, you may want to sit this one out if these will be hard topics for you. But also this is a wonderful essay. So please do stay tuned if we can read through this one. I just wanted to put that out there. We can start with the same question that I asked Gentry of, I know it's hard to summarize a story in a minute or less, but can you provide a quick overview for your essay, which is called I Came Out to Him, Then He Raped Me?
Yeah, kind of am rethinking the title, but in the moment I was so gung-ho about telling the story. I was like, might as well tell it like it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I grew up very conservative Christian, oldest of 7, homeschooled most of my life, and so I didn't know being queer was ever an option. So until I was 28, I lived as a straight woman, essentially. I was with men, and I had to go to. So I've had an eating disorder since I was 17. I'm currently on disability, actually. So it's been a long journey, but I went to treatment in 2021, and that's when I realized I was queer. I was like, oh, maybe I'm bisexual. I'll start dating women. And then when I got out of treatment, I relapsed on drugs and I started dating men again, and I just forgot about that entirely. Until 2023, I was with a man that I had met on a dating app. The reason I reached out to him was because we liked the same obscure band. And,
Who is the band, by the way? Are you able to disclose the band?
oh yeah, it's Nothing. They're a shoegaze band.
I do love shoegaze, but I don't know
Oh,
that
check
one.
them out. I mean, I feel like they're up and coming now.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know anyone else that likes that band, and so
right?
I happened to have a ticket to see their show in Richmond, and we went, and the rest was history. He moved in after 3 weeks, and I just kind of like started playing this part, but something felt off. I was just kind of doing it because I felt like that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was growing more and more depressed. I was technically in remission for my eating disorder, but I was still abusing drugs on the down low. I was growing more and more depressed with my job. I worked in marketing at the time. I worked with Amazon, actually, and I wanted to die.
I'm sorry to hear all of that. Yeah, this essay as I'm listening to you summarize it, I can feel what I felt as I was reading it, which is this is a really tough read, and I can only imagine how tough a live it was. But here's something that really struck me as I was thinking about your essay that I want to ask you as a question. As a memoirist, I think one of our hardest challenges is remaining a reliable narrator through a challenging story. And you do that beautifully in this story. Like there is no moment through every one of these challenges you're describing that it feels like you're too close to it or that you're faltering. I, as a reader, felt very confident. How did you maintain that sense of narrative distance to be a reliable narrator when you're obviously still really connected to these traumatic events that happened to you?
Well, so I journal almost every day, and after that happened, so I came out to him, we broke up, but we stayed roommates. And
Mhm.
then one night, he got me to drink again. I was 4 years sober at that point.
That
And
part
it
was so
was,
heartbreaking in the story.
yeah, and he was drinking in secret the whole time too, but that's not a tale for now. But yeah, he
Yeah.
assaulted me when I was blacked out, and I remember thinking I have to write about this because I'm not going to remember. And so it took me 2 years to actually write the essay. I've been sitting on it for 2 years because I didn't want to talk. I wasn't ready to talk about it. I was really ashamed. And also,
Yeah.
as weird as it sounds, I wanted to like respect his privacy. And now I mean, spoiler alert, now I don't care.
Good.
But I
That's
was
a
scared.
healing.
I was
Yeah.
legit scared. And so, yeah, I think I had to wait until I was ready to revisit those journals, and from there I was able to piece together a narrative. But it's a long process.
I love how raw your writing always is, not just in this story, but in everything that I've read of yours. And you have this style that runs through all of your stories where you have, they're almost like chapter titles, but they're always in all lowercase and they're always like very, like, they're just punches in the gut sometimes. They're so good. I just love the way you structure things and how raw of a writer you are. Um, and you talk about everything. You talk about your mental health, you talk about addiction, you talk about, in this case, sexual assault. How how are you able to reach into yourself and really pull that out? I know you said it took you a lot of time with this particular story, but you're just so real on paper, like, and just so incredibly, I mean, it's not a tough read, but it really brings you into it. I mean, because you are an honest narrator, you're strong with your words, I mean, it really brings us right there to you. What what can you say about your process in terms of writing this way?
Well, thank you for those words. I'm like blushing. I've been blogging since I was 14, and I've been journaling since I was like 11. So I'm used to processing my feelings that way. And then I don't know, I think starting my podcast was when I first started being open about my mental health. That was back in 2018. So it's been 8 years, and it's only in the last two that I started even writing again seriously. Um, and yeah, most of my writing does come from my journals. I transcribe it every night, and I edit them for the internet,
Oh,
obviously.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I write them all by hand. I transcribe them by hand. It's important to me. I kind of have like
Wow. Handwritten, huh? What does it
I'm
do to you to
really
write by hand?
particular. I'm very particular. It's not at all a mental illness. But yeah, I don't know. I can't, if I type things, I'm just editing myself as I go. So I can't, it's easier to write from the
Oh,
heart when it's by hand.
I've heard that before. I never handwrite. I'm always either like this or like this. Um, but for you, you find you self-edit when you type. That's fascinating. Um, I'm realizing I'm using my favorite mug. I don't know if you can see it. It says "Write drunk, edit sober," which is weirdly
Yeah.
ironic for this conversation. But what I always tell people is I don't literally mean write drunk. I mean write uninhibited. Think,
Mm-hmm.
but then edit with the clearest of minds. So when you're in that write drunk phase, you find you need to be handwriting. Otherwise, you're moving automatically into the edit part of your brain. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Well, and
fascinating.
this
Process
piece
is so
was,
fascinating.
yeah, this piece was harder to public. Like with that said, Kiki made it sound like I write about sexual assault all the time. I don't. That's the first time I've ever written about that, actually. And it was really important to me that that's the one I published because I wanted it to, like,
Yeah.
I had a lot of fear and I just wanted to get it out in the open. And that's kind of why I publish the things that I do. A lot of people would think I'm like trauma dumping or oversharing, but I can't keep them inside anymore. Like, because
No,
if
I
I
totally get
don't,
it.
I'll just, like, bad things will happen. Trust me.
I think memoir is a lovely reckoning. And sometimes you just need to write it for yourself, but the act of putting it in the world and knowing you're connecting to people who are going to react powerfully to your experience can be healing in and of itself. Or it can be re-traumatizing. Ask Lindy West after this week she's having, sorry, bad joke, but her
No,
memoirs
yeah, we
causing a lot
joke.
of fuss.
I
Yeah.
joke that on the podcast we joke that we need a trigger warning for every episode, but we don't do it.
Oh gosh, it is called pickles and vodka and pickles. So
Pickle, yeah.
like, wait, pickles and vodka
Pickles
and
and
pickles,
vodka.
pickles and vodka. Okay. It sounds better that way, doesn't it? The flow is a bit
Just
nicer.
rolls off the tongue.
It really does. Again, this is really this passing the mic thing is really hard because especially like, great, thanks for telling us about all your trauma, Chris. Move
Yeah, follow
along.
me. Bye.
Yeah. Truly though, like when I approached Kiki and was like, we should throw a little online celebration for the release of this, which I haven't shown it in a while. So I think we need to do this again. The Memoirist Quarterly, this is the literary journal we're here talking about. Oh, Gentry's got his as well.
So jealous.
I didn't order the hardback one, Kiki, because it takes longer to ship. And I
It
wouldn't have
does
had
take
it.
long.
Yeah, and so I got the soft copy. This is a beautiful book. All 5 of us are featured in it. Kiki is the one who brought all of us together. And I'm thrilled about it. I'm now subscribed to all of you, and I can't wait to see more of your words. I've been writing memoir for about 3 years, and I don't know about you all, but last year I found I wrote a lot less in 2025, and I found it was because writing memoir felt like navel gazing as the world was falling apart around us. And I started 2026 with this resolve of like, no, storytelling is what moves the world.
Mm-hmm.
And art is important and music is important and all of it, writing, art, words. We have to keep creating. We cannot let this administration we're living under take that away from us too. And so I love that you're like, not only am I going to keep writing, Kiki says, I'm going to make a book.
That's right.
and put it out. I think all of this work we're doing though is an act of audacity in trying political times. And especially when you're writing on topics like addressing trauma after war or addressing trauma after sexual assault and what Erin's about to tell us talk to us about of like falling in love over political country borders. These are all topics that are so relevant right now. So I'm so glad that the Memoirist has brought us all together. Thank you for your work.
Thank you,
Chris.
Kiki.
Yes. I think we're going to pass the mic over to Erin. Hi, Erin.
Hi, Erin.
Hi, so happy to be here.
Thank you. It is so good to have you. Thank you for being patient. Your story is called Cargo. And I do have to start it with like, I love the title. I love that it is utterly like not SEO optimized. You don't quite know what it's about when you see it. But after you read the essay, you're like, oh, that word is doing a heavy lift. Love it. Can you introduce the viewers at home to your essay, Cargo, subtitle, The Weight I Carry?
Yeah, so I struggle a lot with titles. And the more I write, the less I find myself struggling. Like it's becoming clearer to me. Like often when I start to write, I don't come out where I started. Like I think I'm writing about one thing and then I find I'm really writing about something else. And that particular piece, I I had been struggling a while. I probably started that piece 10 times. And I remember feeling so frustrated right before I had this breakthrough of figuring out how to get it going. And it was with the t-shirt that I talked about that hangs in my closet. I was literally sitting in my bedroom with my laptop on my lap on my bed. And I caught a glimpse of that t-shirt and I'm like, that's it. And I just started writing. And the title, what is significant about the title is that I'm married to Cuban. I guess I should back up and explain that. My husband is Cuban. We have never lived in the same place together. I cannot bring him to the United States. It remains to be seen if I will be able to bring him to the United States at any point in the near future. I mean, probably not even in the near future, at any point in the next couple of years. So I'm constantly going back and forth. And there is a tremendous lack of access to basic needs, to things that meet basic needs in Cuba. And so when I travel, I maximize my, what I can carry with me. So it's a literal reference to what I carry, because and I said this in the piece, I have mastered the art of making each one of my suitcases weigh exactly 50 pounds, sometimes 50.1, because they'll usually let me through that way. But I'm always carrying 100 pounds of carry-on and probably another 50 pounds 100 pounds of checked luggage and probably another 50 pounds between my two carry-on bags. And that's every single time I go, because I'm taking so many things that are needed there that either can't be bought there or it's not even so often it's not so much that it can't be bought. It's that you could spend a whole day looking for one particular. Part of it is the logistics of being able to get the things that are needed. So I always bring all this stuff. But as I started writing about it, it really became about what I'm carrying here and in my heart. I don't know if you could see where I'm gesturing on the screen, and the weight of that.
Yeah.
So that was where that title came from.
Yeah, at that that was evident, the cargo title and how and why it had that double meaning. And with each item that you named that was part of your cargo, like I think my heart broke a little bit more, both because you're using it to start gradually set up your second home in Cuba to be near him. I think it was like a toaster or a blender, these like one at a time small things you're bringing. But also they were things like Snicker bars, like the most mundane, like any, gas station is going to have 100 varieties of Snickers and things like it that you cannot find there. It's the weight of what you're carrying in your heart, knowing that you can't be in the same country with the man who you're married to, is coming through in every item you're packing in your bag. And just the tragedy of the political situation that we're in right now. I have some questions, and I know that Kiki does too. Kiki, would you like to go first, or would you like me to?
I'm just in this kind of, I don't know, it's sort of related to the story, but I'm really curious how the political climate these days has impacted your relationship, your travels, your feelings about everything. I mean, I know I saw a note from you, I think it was last night, maybe, or maybe it was this morning, where you talked about it. You shared a story about a woman who had been taken custody at an airport. I mean, things like that. How does it affect you?
Yeah, so that was at the airport that's 15 minutes from my house, and she grew up in Evanston, which is like the next suburb north. I mean, she's like a neighbor. American citizen, born in the United States, and she was detained and disappeared for like 3 days, and then she was turned loose with a dead cell phone, no money, in another state, where she had to hitchhike to get to a place where she could contact her family. And she is a U.S. citizen. And, so I think I remember just crying for days.
Yes.
Election happened, and
I'm losing audio.
And
Yeah,
kind of like realized that it's I have never felt the weight of my privilege so heavily as I do right now. Like when I read that story about that woman being detained, I mean, I said it made my blood run cold, but I am not probably going to face that situation simply because of how I look.
Yes.
And that's the only difference between me and the person that it happened to, because she too was born here and she lives in my, in my same metro area. And the only difference between us is, how we look and the way our names sound. And, so I think like the weight of that, like as I see these things happening to people that I care about, and I mean, I care about everybody, but I mean, it's just a little bit more personal right now. As far as what's happening with Cuba, the biggest thing about it for me is that I'm constantly looking to educate people, because we don't learn much. We learn the Cuban Missile Crisis, we learn Bay of Pigs, but I've actually been to the Bay of Pigs. I don't know what I was expecting it to be. It's a beach. But we just like, it's one of our close. And now I know a whole lot about Cuba. And, so I really try to educate people, because people bring a lot of assumptions, and those assumptions are not based in reality. And so, that actually kind of turned into a main focus for my Substack. That wasn't necessarily what I was envisioning when I started it. But now I feel very strongly about humanizing this place that I dearly love. Is my home. And I get really upset when people have misconceptions based on nothing more than what they've heard. Like my least favorite start of a sentence is I've heard, and so I feel a responsibility to correct some of the misconceptions that people have. And the more that I can do that, it feels a little bit like a political act, because I mean, I'm sure you're hearing a lot of references to Cuba right now. We are starving an island of 11 million people, and people are dying. It's like people are dying because of what our country is doing to another country that has done nothing to us. And the more I talk about it, I feel like if I can just have a tiny little impact in influencing some.
Oh, Erin, I think your internet is cutting.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk quite so long without letting you jump in.
No, it's all really important stuff. Your internet, I think, is cutting in and out a bit. Either that or mine is. But the sound is coming.
I can hear you guys just fine. Or I can see you guys moving around.
Good.
Can you hear me now?
Hopefully, yes. Now I can. Hopefully that it's coming through in the chat. Do you follow Arturo Dominguez here on Substack?
No.
He is a journalist, so very different kind of writer, but he does a lot of work covering LatAm countries and has been writing a lot about the situation in Cuba, I think. And he goes live a ton. I was just thinking, like, you two should have a conversation.
Yeah, please, send that to me.
I will. He's
I would love
super
to.
super sweet guy and just super smart. This isn't in the story, but did you meet your husband in Cuba or here? How
he has never been anywhere except Cuba. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. He has never left the island.
Okay.
So we met there during my first trip. He has a garden there. It's amazing. Like garden doesn't really do justice to it. It's really incredible. And I visited. He gave me a tour, and that's how we met.
Oh my God, that's so romantic. If you could erase the geopolitical circumstances between you and your love, would you set up one home in Cuba or where you are, or would you continue to go back and forth?
We would go back and forth together.
Okay.
He has, so we have a complicated story. I'll try to be real quick because I know we don't have unlimited amount of time, but when he and I met, he was married. And so was I, but I was on my way to divorce. And we became friends. I wanted to support his work because what he does in his garden is really, really amazing. Like he has all these techniques for all Cubans for making something out of absolutely nothing. And you can actually read about a little bit about his garden on TripAdvisor. But anyway,
Cool.
yeah, so it's sometimes people don't get his name right, but he has a partnership with a restaurant up the street, and there's a whole experience that they offer, and as part of it, they bring people to his garden.
Gotcha. Um,
But anyway, so we became friends because I wanted to support his work, and I knew I was going to come back to Cuba. So I asked him for my return trip, what could I bring to help him? And so in the 6 months between my first 2 trips, I had a big long list of things to bring to him. I ended up traveling there with family members, and we brought a whole bunch of extra suitcases full of stuff for him and his family, and we spent a day with them. And they cooked for us. We played dominoes. We basically spent a whole day there. And then soon after that trip, his wife became very ill, and several weeks later she passed away. And we had already developed a strong friendship by that point, and I supported him a lot through his grief, and that's kind of how our relationship began.
Oh my gosh.
So I can't remember what you said that prompted me to start talking about that, but anyway.
Oh, I just asked how you met. I just asked how you
Oh.
met. And we do have a question from the chat of, as one who's married to a US citizen, why can't your husband come here?
So that is probably the most common misconception that I am constantly correcting for people.
Okay.
Marrying a United States citizen does not give someone an automatic right to come.
Really?
So our marriage is legal in Cuba. We were married in Cuba, and you have to go through a process of having your marriage validated. And so I did file an I-130 petition right after we got married, but we are now not processing those petitions for 75 countries, which is like more than a third of the countries on the face of the earth.
Oh my God.
Those petitions are just simply not being processed. They're not being denied, because I do have a legal right to have my legal marriage recognized in the United States. So they're not being denied. They're just not being processed.
Oh my
They
God.
did, of course, take my money. I just want to say, a little bitter about it. They did take my money, but they are not processing my application.
I am so sorry. And I hope that
Yeah.
changes soon, because that's so wrong.
Yeah.
And I think you sharing stories like this, that's a way, like we were saying, of humanizing stories that politically might be challenging for people because they have misconceptions. But when you hear this story, you're like, oh, of course she should be with her husband and he should be with her. So I think that the work you're doing is both beautiful and also politically super important. Oops, I think I muted myself, but hopefully you all can hear me. Thank you for sharing your story. Yeah, that's such an important one. And can everybody hear me okay?
I lost you all for just a second, but now I can hear you again.
Okay. Perfect. Good to know. The technical difficulties today. I have to say, I'm patting us on the back because we were very worried about a lot of technical challenges, and I think this is going pretty smoothly all around. Good. I want to read this comment from Lynette, who is saying, I want to say how brave you all are for telling your stories. The vulnerability comes through with authenticity. Lynette, I couldn't have said it better myself. Like, thank you to everyone who shared their stories with the Memoirist Quarterly, and especially for the 3 of you for coming on here today to talk about your stories in this wonderful literary journal. Kiki, we haven't talked about our stories yet.
Let's talk about yours.
I was going to say, let's talk about yours, but either one works for me. How about just one question each? Because as the hosts, I feel like we've been doing a lot of the talking.
Okay.
Yeah,
let's talk about your story.
Okay, I'll grab the link. While you're asking me
your story is My Dad, Dementia, and the Things We Don't Forget.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful story.
Thank you.
You've written a few times about your dad.
I have quite a few.
Yeah. And the one question that I really like is so in this story, you talk about you had a complicated relationship with him when you were younger.
Oh, yes.
But you approach him now that he's in his memory care home with much compassion and empathy. How do you go between the two? How do you rectify, this relationship that was difficult in your past, but now you're approaching it in such a gentle manner with just such love and compassion?
Thank you for seeing all of that through it. And that's, I think I've now written like 8 or 9 stories about my father. It has occurred to me of like, I could publish a book of essays just
Mhm.
about my complicated relationship with my dad. And the first essay that I wrote about it is in the original Memoirist. Um, and it's that story that really talks about this, like, here was this very toxic presence throughout my childhood and life, this very domineering, angry, he's very like Trump, you guys. He's from New York, he yells a lot, um, misogynist, xenophobe, the works. Um, and then dementia moved in. And what dementia has done is it has pulled the curtain away from the bully who protected the scared little boy inside of him his whole life. And now he is just kind of a shell of who he was. He is no longer this, I mean, he can't stand up, first of all. So he's not this towering, imposing figure in my life anymore. But when you talk to him, he always thinks he's in trouble. He's always worried and scared about how other people are. And he's, in this essay in particular, he's very worried about how he'll be remembered. And and I don't mean this in a mean way, he's pathetic now. So he's a lot easier for me to deal with than the angry, blustery man he always was. There were certainly times over the decades where I was like, that was enough, Dana. You could cut him off. Um, he never got physically abusive with me, but the verbal abuse was there. It's taken many decades of my life to finally use the A word and just say it was abuse, the way he treated me and many other people. Um, but in the end, I'm glad that I never cut him off entirely. I had this very benign neglect relationship with him from 3,000 miles away, talk to him once a month or so, because I'm really glad I've got to know him as dementia has removed this veil. And I feel like I have a lot more compassion for him because I'm pretty sure he was bullied by his family, and that's how he ended up how he was, right? Um, on the Daily Whatever show, Lawrence and I, who are both proud, card-carrying Gen Xers, we like to say that Gen X is the generation that is like trying to break patterns of generational cycles. And this is my way of breaking it. I haven't cut him off. I have a very limited relationship with him, but that has now allowed me to have this very compassionate view on him now. Um, and yeah, that's how I've done it, is that uh, I can see what was always underneath. I didn't know I would get that gift, but it has been a gift.
That is a gift. Thank you for sharing it with the quarterly and with all of us.
Oh my
Substack.
gosh. Thank you for publishing it. If you look in the book, you'll see a silly photo, just a photo of us. Every time I visit him, I take one. So it's usually like a couple times a year. And almost every time I visited him, there's a new story. This one was fascinating because it was the first time that he has dementia, but he's basically grounded in reality. And he still has his big rocks. He knows I'm his daughter. He knows who my kids are. He knows where we live. But it's the immediate memory that just everything, he's got nothing there. But this was the first trip that he started making up falsehoods. And he wasn't lying to me. He thought it was real as he was talking about his time in the war and what a great war hero he was and what a great dad and grandfather he's been. And so that was the part of the title of My Dad Dementia and the Things We Don't Forget, is that not only he is twisting his cognition has now twisted to try to be remembered in a way that he never lived.
It's
So
interesting.
that was what was new this time. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that is again so deeply lamentable that the way he lived wasn't enough. And so he wants me, like his eldest child, he's trying to convince me sort of by telling these stories to remember him in a way that's more flattering than his real life was. And the gift I gave him was just nodding. Yep, that's great, Dad.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Like he's kind of past the age when you try to be like, that's false and I have receipts. Like you just have to keep going. Yeah, we both wrote stories about our dads or father figures, so they're
Mhm.
very different stories. I'm gonna make that the shift to taking the camera off me and moving it to you, Kiki, if that's okay.
Sure.
And I'm gonna grab yours has the funniest title, "That Bitch Let Him Move In."
Yep.
Um, I'm gonna put that in the chat over here, and, this story took me on a ride, Kiki. I have to say, I read it. I actually just read this one today. Like I said, I only just received the book, and it starts off with this very confrontational scene. I mean, the opening line is a bold smirk spread across my reddened face when he slapped me.
Mhm.
So you are landing your reader in this situation. We come to find out is you as a child, as a
Yes.
tween, being slapped by your mother's then boyfriend.
Yes.
And so me as a reader, I was like, this son of a bitch, this story is going to be his comeuppance because it's very defiant at the beginning. But in a really short span of time, you take us on a wild ride as the reader of this is your beloved stepfather for over 40
Mhm.
years.
Mhm.
Um, and so my question for you is, oh my God, there's so many questions, but why open with such an explosive moment and like inflammatory moment
Mhm.
when it ends up in such a happy place? Like, how did you make that decision as the narrator of this story?
Because it was the perception from myself as a child.
Right.
So that whole it's just how I perceived that moment and who he was. And it's funny because I was nervous about this story. I generally, as a practice, if I think it will hurt a family member, I won't write it. Um, and I did go to my mother before, especially even with the title being "That Bitch Let Him Let Him
Yeah.
Move In." You know,
I bet she had feelings about that.
I don't usually ask permission about things, but I did go to her and I said, "I'm publishing this story. I just want you to know." And she was a little nervous at first, I think, because of the whole slap thing. And I do say in this story, I make it a point to say he was not violent. That moment,
Yes.
yes, there was that moment in our history, but he was not an abusive man at all. He was very loving. I just did not accept him for a very long time throughout my childhood.
Yeah.
I gave him a very hard time. I was very sassy and bratty. I did not like him taking the place of my father. Um, and I was probably even bratty in high school. It took really being an adult to appreciate who he was, and, he was very young when my mother,
Yes.
started dating him. He was in his early 20s, and I
I
was
saw that.
yeah, and she was, I think, close to 30. Um, so he didn't have experience doing this either, and I really took advantage of that. I gave him a run for his money, I will say, but
Yeah.
so the story is kind of quickly goes from the perception of, 9-year-old me to kinda gradual acceptance, and then at the end saying, "He did belong after all. He does belong in my family. He does belong, and, he was a good stepfather, and he's a great grandfather." Um, so yeah.
It's like, it really was like, I can't think of an essay I read recently that took me on such a wild ride so quickly. So kudos to you as a narrator. The one thing that is still sticking with me, and that really like slammed on my brakes as a reader was you go from this opening scene where a 9-year-old has been slapped by a grown man
Mhm.
to say he's not violent. Because
Yeah,
my gut reaction to that was like, yeah, he is. He just hit you.
yeah.
Um, What's going on there? Is it generational? Like, how do you explain, you cannot negate 40 years of lived experience. This has been
Right.
a beloved member of your family. So I get it. You're like, nope, there was that indiscretion, but
I do think it
40
was
years.
partially generational, and I think, again, this was in the '70s.
Yeah.
Things were different back then.
Yeah. Right.
Not that it's an excuse, I'm not excusing the slap, but, it yeah, I mean, I just think
Yeah.
it was a different time, and, again, he was young and inexperienced, and I was in his face smirking and saying he wasn't my dad and couldn't
Oh
tell
my
me what
gosh.
to do. And
Right? The
yeah,
other scene that really jumps out at me, and I'm as a, a mom of teenagers now, is the scene when you're with your dad and you describe
yeah,
yourself as daddy's little girl, and he is having you like hold court outside,
yeah,
waiting for your mom to come home for a date with Ron. And at the
yes.
time, you're like, hell yeah, my dad's been aggrieved, and you're waiting with him.
Mhm.
And you present it in this very innocent way. What does adult and parent Kiki think about this choice that your father made to have
Yeah,
you stand
it's
guard?
hard. It's hard because my dad passed away. Well, it's been over 10 years now. So I don't like to paint him. Once your parents passed, you don't
I'm
like to
sorry.
paint them in a negative light. But
Yeah.
as an adult, I look back at this and I see how manipulative it was. So I
Yeah.
do understand that. I also understand that he was going through his own pain, in
Yes.
believing that his wife was having an affair. So he didn't handle it in the best way by having his child stand there waiting for
No.
him to come home. So
Right.
I do understand, and I do recognize, the fault in that. Um,
Right. And that's
but
the
I
beauty of
also
memoir.
understand that he was human too, we all make mistakes. God knows I have made tremendous mistakes as an adult throughout my life, and
Right.
choices that I could have made differently.
I haven't made any mistakes.
Not you, Dana.
I am hilarious. Here's my segue. It would be a really big mistake for you to not order
Yes.
memoirs. How is that for a really awkward transition?
And Dana, can I
Um,
just name the other writers who are in this
please,
book? I would
please
hate to,
list
like, not
every one of
acknowledge
them.
them at our
Yes.
little party here. So, also in the issue are Marcia Abood, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce any names. Marcia Abood, James S. Walker, Gabby King, Glenna Gill, Jacqueline Dooley, Lori Christian,
Jackie.
yep, Jody Doff, Krista Schumacher, Abby Paradis. I don't know if I pronounced that right, Abby, I'm sorry. Dana von Allman, Abby Wade, David Perlmutter, Igor Korneve, Danielle Dragona, Harry Hogg, Bud Hager, Amy Stromer, and Tamara MC PhD. Thank you all for being part of the Memoirist Quarterly. I couldn't have done it without all of your talent.
Oh my gosh. And Kiki, thank you for pulling together all of these wonderful writers and putting us into this beautiful literary journal. Were those all writers, or were some of them artists who had their
Those
work
were
featured?
all writers. There
Okay.
are only a few artists in this issue: Christopher Robin, Jackie Dooley, Emily Dooley, and my mom, BJ Noro.
Oh, your mom.
Mhm.
Oh my God,
Yep,
I love that. It's a family affair.
it
What a
is a family
talented
affair.
and such a talented family. Would all of you guys like to unmute as we're in our final moments of this celebration? I want to go and grab the link once again to where folks can buy this journal. Someone had asked me earlier on my live if it was available digitally, and it is not available yet as a digital
Not
download.
yet. I
Yeah.
had trouble with the Kindle version. It was not coming out correctly, so I think I need to completely rebuild it specifically for Kindle. So that might take me a while to get on there. I didn't want
Yes.
people to pay for a Kindle version and have it be all wonky.
Oh no, that would be bad. I
Yeah.
just put the link in the chat. That is where you can buy it on Amazon. If you search for the Memoirs Quarterly, make sure you put 2026 in the title, because there is a 2023 one as well, which is also great. Memoir is timeless, but this new one is under 2026.
Yes.
And oh, look at all these sweet comments. Elizabeth says, grateful to find this amazing platform to share my life experiences at no charge. That is wonderful. And Lynette says, your mom is working with you, even though you called her a bee in your title.
She's very
For the
proud of my
Wikipedia.
writing. She puts it all over Facebook, much to my chagrin.
You know, that is a timely topic for me. That could be a whole other podcast theme, but my mom never pays attention to my writing, but because I'm promoting it more on social media, she got mad about something I wrote about weight
Oh.
and family of origin stuff. And my only response was like, "Oh, did you read something I wrote?"
Family is difficult when you're a writer. It can be a challenge.
My mom
Family is
promised
difficult.
she promised she would stop reading my Substack, and then she's like, "But it just keeps appearing in my email." I'm like, "Yeah, because you subscribed."
Oh my gosh. All I can say is if my daughters, whatever they are into, like I will applaud them. I mean, unless they're into things that are dangerous, but my kids are visual artists and I'm always like showing off their work and cheering on what they're doing. That's our role as parents. So I'm glad you have a supportive mom. And my mom is awesome. She's just not awesome at this part. So we still are due for a conversation about what she was mad about. And I'm like, really though? Really though?
I
Yeah.
usually say, no matter what medium you use, visual or writing or music or whatever it is, you own your own story. It's yours.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that was so relevant, Gentry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Just that what my mother said was like, well, I don't think what you wrote was true. And I'm like, okay, so that's the thing about memoir.
Mhm.
Go write your own version of the story, but like no one gets to write your story for you.
Yeah.
And I would say that to anyone in the audience listening who is a memoirist or who is thinking about writing personal essays, like you own your narrative. And you do have to reckon with who will read it and how you feel about sharing it with the world. So it is a courageous thing to put your words into the world. And you all here today have done amazing work and talking about some pretty challenging topics. So thank you.
Yeah,
for
and
putting
I'd
that
just
out
like
there.
to also say before we go, Dana, if anyone out there is interested in writing for the Memoirist, having your stories put up there,
Yes.
it's a great way to get more readers. You can, I'm happy to republish things all of the time, or if you're interested in being part of the June issue of the Memoirist Quarterly, just DM me either way. I'm easy to reach on a
Yes.
personal message and will respond.
And I just put the link to the memoiristpub.substack.com. Please go subscribe at a minimum. Go read. And if you're interested in writing, hit up Kiki.
Yep.
Because she will run your essays and
I will.
get more eyes on them. So, oh my gosh, I love how many folks do we have here? 166 people are here.
Yay!
Time out of their Sundays to talk about memoir. That makes me so happy. Lynette is asking, will you be marketing to libraries or universities?
That's a really good question.
Great question.
Not something I've thought about at this point, but I think I will look into that. So thank you. I hadn't even considered it.
You are hired as the
Yes.
chief marketing officer at the Memoirist Quarterly.
Exactly.
We'll be reaching out. Don't they say that in work meetings? If you come up with an idea, you own it.
I'll circle back around to you.
Right. We'll put a pin in that. We're going to put a pin in that, Lynette. This has been the most delightful way to spend a Sunday afternoon. Thank you. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Kiki, Erin, Gentry. Thanks to all of you for being here and for your contributions to this conversation. I think we should all do like a jazz hands or something so that we can have like a group shot at the end to put as the cover photo. Should we do it on the count of three? I'll go 1, 2, 3, jazz hands. Okay, 1, 2, 3, jazz hands. I love it. All right, and with that, I am going to end this live stream. Please subscribe to all the folks here. Follow along for more personal essays and have a wonderful rest of your Sunday.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.
So I